Oh, you must be my 4 o'clock group. Welcome to the MMFA, the Masconomic Museum of Fine Arts. Hurry on inside, we have a lot to see in our only 15-minute tour. Today we'll be exploring the idea of religion shown through art of the cultures from all over the world. Actually, our tour begins outside, right at the 60 feet tall Haida totem poles. This is part of the Northwest Coast Arts and was created by Bill Reed and Doug Cranmer. It was erected in 1962. Many of you have an understanding of what a totem pole looks like, a long piece of wood with animal figures carved and painted on. This long piece of wood is actually a tree trunk. The animals carved into the wood are known as crests. The crests represent supernatural beings that represent the tribe's origin story. They were gods of that clan. Examples are upside-down dogfish, the eagle with the downturned beak, and a killer whale with a human between its nose. Crests are not just mammals, but are representations of social status and the family's history. They could be received by marriage or trade between the clans. In some cases, even wars were started over the ownership of the crests. Sadly, if you look at the pieces of the crests are falling off today, but you can still see the paint and the wonderful carving marks the artists used to portray the crests. Any questions? Good. Okay, let's go inside. Come on, hurry down this hallway. Here's our second piece on the tour, the Athena Parthenos. This beautiful 38-foot statue is from the Greek Acropolis. Surprisingly, instead of being built to fit the Parthenon was built to fit around her. She kept guard of the Parthenon and was filled with myths that the viewer would have already seen on their journeys. The cella, or where the deity is kept, is much larger than normal because of the grand size of Athena, or the goddess of wisdom and warfare. Here she is shown as a virgin. She was born from the head of Zeus instead of a womb. She is made from crystallophane, or the combination of gold and ivory. Her stance is extremely frontal and stiff, with a slight bend in her right leg. Her golden dress shows beautiful drapery that show her body underneath. In her left hand you can see a small angelic figure with gold wings and a gold dress. This is Nike, the goddess of victory. On her gold helmet there are reliefs of sphinx and griffins on both sides. Her chest has the head of Medusa engraved, and her spear is an engraving of a snake representing Athronacalus. Her sandals feature lapinths and centaurs fighting. At eye level, at the base, you see the character Pandora. She is the first woman created by the gods and represents evil. All of the reliefs shown on Athena relate to myths and battles the Greeks believed in. Amazingly, Athena has been through 2 fires and has survived. Along with very public worshipping, in early Christian art, some forms of worship were privately focused. Christ enthroned with saints is a harborough triptych, or a portable shrine with hinged wings for private devotion. Like Athena, it was carved out of ivory, but was only 9.5 by 5.5 inches. In the central panel, you see dioceses showing the Virgin Mary and Saint John discussing about Christ. On the other 2 panels are friezes of the apostles, bishops, martyrs, and the holy soldiers. What's really amazing is to see the amount of detail and skill level the artist had to use to create this beautiful piece. The individually carved humans and textures is amazing with the small size. 2 very similar but different sculptures are the Yupik Eskimo mask and the dance mask. In the Yupik mask, you can see a large wooden hoop that surrounds its head. That hoop represents the universe. There are also white spots, which we believe to represent snowflakes, and dangling wood pieces to represent the sound of the north wind. Created in the early 20th century in Alaska, it is used in ceremonies dedicated to the spirits of the north wind. The Yupik people would perform special dances to bring good weather. They wore costumes and masks that would then transform them into the spirit. It would be important to maintain human spiritual contact and would take place right before winter. After their ceremony, though, the mask would be abandoned. The other mask, the dance mask, is used in ceremony as well. This mask, though, does not have a dangling piece of wood, but a bird carved from wood on its chin. Both have the silly grins with knobby teeth and curved eyes. They also have different carved sticks of wood sticking out and feathers surrounding it. They both also feature the wooden hoop. Inside this glass case is a chiclet blanket with stylized animal motifs. Like the mask, this was worn for ceremonial purposes when communicating to the spirits. It was worn over the shoulders while dancing. It was designed by males, but the females would weave the patterns on boards out of cedar bark and mountain goat wool. It was a 6-month process for the Alaskan Tilligit village people. For this purpose, they created perfect symmetry in their pattern with repetition and abstract in shape. They showed abstract animal motifs, abstract faces, and in the middle an abstract eye design. They created a wonderful black and yellow thick border that enclosed the shapes. The string dangled and moved as they danced with them. In New Orabi, Arizona, Otto Pintewa created the Castana figure. These figures were made by cottonwood root and feathers. They represented the supernatural spirits of their ancestors and the natural elements that survived in the mountains and water sources. Once humans died, they joined the Castana figure. People would personify them during their festivals for rain, fertility, and good hunting seasons. This one specifically represents a rain-carrying deity and was only given to young girls. When looking at the figure, you can see the beautiful multicolored geometric patterns on its headdress, which represent the fertility and the water. This 11.5-foot jade statue is called the ceremonial axe in form of a were-jaguar. The word were in Old English means man, so when translated, this statue means man-jaguar. This common deity is created with almond-shaped eyes, a downturned mouth, and a cleft chin. Surprisingly, jade was found nowhere real to Olmec people. They created celtics, or an axe-shaped polished statue, that were buried as votive offerings. These celts came in crying baby forms and human animal forms, such as this one. People believed that the religious practitioners went through difficult and hazardous transformations to gain the power of the deities for the benefits of the tribe. This fierce and startling woman is known as the snake goddess from Crete, Greece. She is a faience, or low-fired opaque, similar to glass silicate, and was found in a chest that was part of a household item. The most prominent detail in the statue is her breasts. Although she is fully clothed in a dress and a headdress, the artist wanted us to look at them, so he left them exposed. This is a symbol of fertility, but also suggests the possibility of her mortality. The other prominent detail is the animal she controls, 2 snakes in her hands and a leopard in her head. They symbolize her control and power over the animals, which makes her a goddess. The amount of detail the artist was able to capture in her clothing is remarkable. She has the beautiful natural browns in her faience dress, which almost resembles stone in the texture and patterns. There are also folds the artist was able to create underneath her breasts. Contrasting to the beauty of her body, she has a very angry face that is almost used to scare the viewer. This is meant to intimidate and show her power. She is also in a very frontal, stiff, and powerful stance, similar to the Egyptian rulers of the past. Another tactic to show her authority. Here you can see my favorite piece from Egypt, the Last Judgment of Hu-Nefer, or the Book of the Dead. This was found in Tenkutman's mummy case, known as King Tut. His name means living image of Amun, and has one of the best tombs because it was never rated for its gold and precious stones. The book reads left to right, and in the first sheen shows Anubis bringing Hu-Nefer into the place where he will have his soul weighed by the scale. This heart is represented by a pot and is weighed with a feather. The feather is referred to Mat, meaning what is right. If the heart was heavier, he would be fed to Amit, the lion, alligator, hippo beast, and sentenced to non-existence. The Egyptians believed that the afterlife was much better than the life they lived. If they lived and devoted their lives to the gods, they would be accepted to the afterlife. Thankfully, Nu-Nefer was made it past Amit. He was brought to Osiris by his sons Horus. Osiris seated under the canopy with his sisters Isis and Nefertiti on his side. Over him there is a line of deities who supervise the judgment. In the scroll, the characters are shown in multiple times, similar to a comic book. Here you can also see the canon featured, where each person is shown specifically the way they have to be, and you can also see the strict and frontal obscured views of the people. Their feet are very off-turned, and their heads are faced the same way as their feet, but their body is facing us, which is very wrong. Shiva is the Hindu god for the destroyer and the transformer. He's one of the most powerful gods and is commonly shown meditating or, like in this relief, doing the cosmic dance. He has multiple limbs, dread-like hair, a crescent moon for a crown, a serpent scarf, and a third eye. The third eye represents the all-seeing nature. The cosmic dance was done to destroy the universe to make room for the god Brahma to start the process of creation. Shiva is shown with 18 swinging arms in a beautiful arch. Some of his hands hold objects that create prescribed mudras. Mudras are the spiritual and energetic gestures performed in Hinduism and Buddhism. The goddess Ganesh, the elephant goddess of the arts, is shown mimicking Shiva. Also, to his left of Shiva is Nadi, his bull. The Indian people believed strongly in him and how he would destroy the earth, but it was seen in a positive way because it would be rebuilt even better. This strong man is no other than Heracles. The statue is meant to be viewed from all angles, so come on, let's walk around. Sadly, the real statue was lost, and this is only a copy. This shows Heracles after the task of receiving the golden apples. Look at the apples in his hand and hidden behind. There is such irony in the sculpture because Heracles, being so strong, is leaning against the post, which is a sign of weakness. Even more ironic, it was placed in a bathhouse for exercising men to have an inspiration. The Greeks strongly believed in their appearance and wanted to look just like the gods. This is from the late classical, where the artist started to humanize the gods, which explains why he is made weak and in pain like a human would. The statue was made in copies for Cyclone and Argos, and was modeled to resemble Commodus. Here we see Christ with a book, the jeweled Bible, in his hand, and the other the symbol for blessing the faithful. What I find most interesting is the detail in his face. There is shadowing, a very realistic feel, which wasn't common in this era. But look down at his clothes. It feels very different, almost like a different artist created this. The smooth, realistic Greco-Roman shadows in Christ's body disappear as the harsh shadows and textures appear in his robe. He is also surrounded by wonderful etched silver. These icons were used to block off parts of the church with the service when it wasn't going on, such as the apse, and had figures or images on both sides. Auric icons were very popular all over Constantinople. In this mask, the war helmet mask, it was used to increase the strength of the wearers by supernatural being. Its mad face was also used to scare away the enemies, with its fierce smile and squinty eyes. It is unsure of the Tlingit Native Americans' origin, but we do know they had an abundance of natural resources. They lived close to the ocean and had forests which supplied food such as berries and game, and also shelter. This abundance was able to put less stress on surviving and instead on the craftsmanship. The eagle transformation mask was used for healing rituals in the Northwest Coast. Only men performed in the dramatic performances during the winter ceremonial seasons, and it was for high-ranking families. What was really interesting is when the fire was going, men would dance around with these masks, and they would open and close the mask, switching from man to eagle and eagle to man, and the firelight would create wonderful shadows while transforming them. In this, there is a lot of facial distortion in the human aspect with a hooked nose and flat flared nostrils, and there's also very strong shadows they are able to portray. The eagle is also shown abstractly on the inside and on the outside, but there is the same color scheme available on both. There is wonderful feathers put on top and string that is able to open and close it. And, well, we reached the end of our tour. Thanks for coming. I hope you understand now the importance of religion in every culture, from ancient cultures to more recent cultures. They all spend most of their time creating pieces for the gods and deities of their religion in hopes to create a better afterlife for themselves. Thanks again for coming, and I hope to see y'all soon.